Welcome to the IVF Abroad podcast for people who are struggling with infertility and trying to conceive, and who are facing more obstacles than options when it comes to having fertility testing or treatment in their home countries. Alongside other experts, I will share, educate and empower you on your journey and help you to learn more about going abroad for advanced fertility testing and treatments like IVF and egg donation. I'm Emma Haslam, your host, now mum of one, and the go-to expert in fertility treatment abroad. Since the birth of our son in 2018, I have made it my mission to make fertility treatment more informed, transparent, accessible, supported and affordable for more people. And I help people just like you to become unstuck, to find a best fit clinic that truly meets their needs, and to have fertility treatment on their terms and timescales so they can achieve their dreams of growing their families. And I'm here now to help you too. Be sure to check out the free resources in the show notes for more help after listening to today's episode. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I want to start this episode with something that might make you feel a bit uncomfortable, but it's because I believe it is so important. And I'm going to share a story with you in a moment. Well, actually, it's not a story because it's true, sadly. Most people, when they begin researching where to have private fertility treatment, will go online to consume what they believe is education. When in reality, a lot of that education is actually marketing. And it's so cleverly done that people don't even realise it. And this can come through the accounts that you follow on things like social media, even podcasts that you trust, clinics, websites, social medias, agencies that say that they're on your side. And this is at a time when people are vulnerable. They are seeking hope and ultimately want to grow their families. But they deserve, and you deserve, the correct information. You deserve transparency around things. And you deserve that so that you can make the right informed decisions for you and your future family. And when advice isn't independent and it's there quietly shaping your choices in the background, from things like which clinic you choose, which country you decide to go to, your reasons for going abroad, for example, and there's a financial incentive behind that in terms of things like commission for somebody, then you can't trust the information that you are being given. And when people are not upfront about receiving things like commission, then you can believe that they are giving you information that is correct, and you can believe that they're giving information that's in your best interest, when in fact it's only in their interests. So today I want to talk about where some of this information might be coming from so that you can be aware of it, and some questions that you can ask yourself to help you to avoid falling into any of these traps. And I'm going to look at why so much of it is biased and how you can spot when this helpful advice, in inverted commas, is actually just marketing that is designed to come across as being in your best interest, but when actually that is just simply not the case. All right, I want to share a story. A story that inspired me to record this episode. I am seeing an increasing number of influencers within the fertility space who I believe are receiving payment and or free stuff from different fertility clinics in exchange for going out there to the very large social media followings and on things like national television to essentially sell everybody that they can, as many people as possible, to go to that fertility clinic. Now, I can't prove this, but let me tell you why I think this is true. I know that if you're on social media and you talk about a particular company and you are promoting them, if you paid in full for their services, and if it's not an ad, you need to declare those things on your accounts. And they're not doing that. What they're also not doing and should be doing, this is a transparency piece that is so important, is they're not being upfront and saying, we received payment, we received some free testing, we received free treatment, whatever it is. And then they are making lots of content about particular clinics. So to me, that says that they can't be paying for it, because if they were, they would be declaring that on their content, and they're not. So it tells me that they're receiving something from the clinics. And so, of course, the deal there is if you're going to be getting free treatment, free testing, whatever it is, payment, of course you're going to go out there and say, this is the best clinic ever. I mean, I don't believe in one best clinic ever, because it all depends on what people's medical needs are, personalities, budget, care needs. You'll hear me talk about this kind of thing all the time on the podcast, right? But the thing is, these accounts have huge, massive social media followings, going on national television, loads of people watching this. And there'll be people that will believe what they're saying is true, because they may feel that they've got an affinity with this person because perhaps they're slightly famous or whatever. And I'm seeing this happen more and more, and it is so wrong on every single level. It just lacks transparency, Declare it to be an ad. Be honest. And at least people then can go, okay, it's an ad. It's also just one person's experience. But if it's an ad, is it really unbiased? No, it's not. But it's a pure lack of transparency around this. When people have got such influence, it's dangerous. The other thing that I am seeing them do, especially around the topic of things like fertility treatment abroad, is they are talking on their large social media followings, on TV, about things about going abroad, saying things that are just not true. Now, this may be from a lack of knowledge point of view, which is fine, but it's not fine to then go on and talk about these things when you don't know what you're talking about. And the reason why this is important is because they are saying things about going abroad that are just not true. And I believe to try and sell people into the idea of going abroad. And that is so wrong. Look, we don't need to sell people into the idea of going abroad. It's either right for you or it's not right for you. And it is right for lots of people. But don't tell people things that are not true about going abroad like it's some magic bullet when it's not. And it's just so wrong. It's so wrong on every level, and there will be some people that will believe it. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I hope that it will just help you to maybe have a look at some of the things that you're consuming and just maybe look at it in a slightly different way. And as I said, I'm going to give you some questions that you can kind of ask yourself if you're unsure when you're listening or looking at things, just so that you are not potentially being hoodwinked into something, that you are not being given misinformation. And this is not just about going abroad. You can use these questions when you're thinking about the UK or wherever you live too, because some of this stuff is so clever. Like, it can be shared in a very educational style, which can make us think that it's education, that it's neutral, that it's not marketing. But education can still be sponsored. Education can still be full of misinformation. And it can still very much have an agenda. And it can be very much like explained nicely. And so you think that it's neutral when actually it's just marketing noise. It's really hard. It's really, really hard, this stuff. It can also be quite innocent as well where we consume our information, in terms of we may look to a person online or a forum or a Facebook page or even a friend and think, well, it worked for them in that clinic, so it'll work for me. And there's no malice behind any of this at all. And, we do listen to others who've had similar experiences to us. But because it worked for them doesn't mean that it will work for you. Because they had a good experience doesn't mean that you will have a good experience. It's got to be the right clinic for your needs, your personality, your budget. And it's likely that you will be different from the person that you are speaking to. You've also got to remember that some people will say they've had a good experience only because they got pregnant, had a baby. Other people will, if they don't get the result or haven't had the result yet, will say that the clinic is a bad clinic when that might not be the case, but it's because they haven't had the result yet. So you can be essentially choosing a clinic, something so important, based on what a mate or a stranger online has told you with really good intention. But it might not be the right choice for you. They may also share through lack of understanding, misinformation, again, not intentionally, depending on where they've consumed their information. So you could again be making decisions about something super important based on the wrong information. And this is a huge, huge one. And I think sometimes people, in terms of looking to do things on a budget, will go and take somebody else's recommendation of what was right, perhaps for them, to go and do themselves. And I think that can be a really dangerous path to go down, because you could just end up choosing the wrong fertility clinic. And if you get the wrong fertility clinic for your needs, budget, personality, etc., you're not increasing your chances of success. You're not making your money work harder for you, and you potentially are working with information that's not true. And then you've got more chances of looking back with regret because it's coming from one person's perspective rather than based on facts. There can also be a perception that if something is free to you, that the information, guidance, support, whatever it is, must be unbiased. It's often paid for elsewhere. And that's fine because people have to get paid. But there are things that will pretend that they are completely free. And that's the main thing that they do and they offer, when actually what they're doing is they're taking commission, referral fees, free cycles, whatever it is. And they're not being transparent about that. And I think that's really problematic because, again, if you take commission for things like clinical recommendations, you are essentially working for the fertility clinics. Those people are not on your side. They are not really matching you to what's in your best interests. They're matching you to a clinic that's going to pay them money. And it can feel attractive because often these companies, platforms are free or lower cost, but the payment for you, while in cash at that point, is less. You're going to pay for it down the line when you're not at the right clinic or you're not getting the right support, the right guidance, when you're being told anything to sell you into one of those clinics, whether or not it is right for you. The payment is there. It's just hidden from you. And again, this should be declared. I understand why some people will feel that this is better to use a free platform than to just do it all completely without any support and guidance if you're on a tight budget. And that's fine. But I think a lot of people don't realise that these platforms or people are not free, that they're making their money elsewhere. And as I said right at the beginning of this, people are allowed to make money for the work that they do. But be upfront, be transparent, because it's biased. And often a lot of them have very few clinics that they recommend, and they can be in countries that are not safe, are not ethical, and they're not educating people around things like that. They're just selling them into some very set solutions and then not giving them the guidance that they need and the information that they need and the correct information that they need to make informed decisions and to see them through having their fertility treatment. So it's just something to be aware of. Like I mentioned earlier, about success rates. Lots of people believe that going abroad will offer them better success rates. Now, in the right clinic for people who have needs, in the right clinic that has the expertise in the area that somebody needs, then of course you can increase your chances of success because you're with the right type of clinic who's got that experience. But as I said earlier, you cannot compare clinics on success rates when you are looking abroad because they all measure things differently and some of them are independently verified. It's different people, different amounts of people, different numbers of cycles, different times at which they are reporting their success rates. You just cannot compare on success rates. You can't compare on one clinic that's got a really nice website versus another clinic. A lot of the information on there will be marketing. And, success rates in terms of what are displayed are often selective and they're going to be presented in the best light for that clinic. So what I don't want you to do is to choose a clinic based on success rates or believe anybody that tells you that the success rates abroad are higher, because it's just not true. Well, it's not that it's not true, it's that we don't know. Have I had people who've had multiple failed cycles in their home country go abroad and then have success? Yes, absolutely. Do I believe that there's a reason why people are travelling from all different countries around the world to come to mainland Europe for their fertility treatment? Yes. Do I believe they're light years ahead in some clinics? Yes. Are they doing a lot more fertility treatment than, say, for example, here in the UK? Yes. So there's lots of positive indicators that can lead us to believe that actually, people are having better success by going abroad. I'm seeing that through the clients that I'm working with, but it's anecdotal. It's not proven that the success rates are higher abroad. So it's about finding clinics that have good success rates in the thing that you need. So if it's unexplained infertility, if you are over 40, etc., etc., it's about that. But it's about very much taking success rates with a pinch of salt. It's about understanding what success rates are based on. And when you do that, you'll very quickly see that they are non-comparable. And success rates are just one piece of a jigsaw that when you're making a decision on which clinic to go to is one tiny piece of the things that you should be considering. And anybody that is trying to sell you in to going into any clinic and by going up and going abroad, saying that they have the best success rates, that is a massive red flag. Are there clinics out there that have good success rates? Yes. Do I work with clinics that have high success rates? Yes. Can I say that they are higher than going in the UK or somewhere else? No, I can't say that. And it's just lying to people to try and get people to go abroad or to choose a certain clinic. And that is just fundamentally wrong. Okay. The other thing as well is you may see online some people who are super confident in terms of the advice in inverted commas that they're given. But it doesn't mean to say that it's correct. It doesn't mean to say that the nuance is always there. And I do believe that we're all different and what suits one doesn't suit another. It's complex, and sometimes people oversimplifying things are either inexperienced or incentivized. So what can we do about it? I want to give you something that can help. This is my who benefits filter. What I want you to do before acting on any advice that you are consuming online, podcasts, it could be even with your current fertility clinic or somebody that you might be considering working with, is asking the question, who benefits if I believe this? Who benefits if I believe this? And would this advice still make sense that this person's given me if money weren't involved? I think that's a really good one. Because just because you can't see the incentive doesn't mean there isn't one. And also not being afraid to ask people if it's a free service or it's a free platform, asking them, how do you make your money? How, are you taking commission from a fertility clinic? Where you're making your money essentially is what you're asking them in whatever way, you feel comfortable. But I think that's really important. If they're not being clear, which they should be around things like that, if you're not being clear, then they need to be, and they need to answer that question for you. And then you can decide what you're comfortable with. You might be comfortable with that, and that's okay. But just be upfront, people. That's what they need to do. And they're not doing that in lots of cases. I'm seeing it more and more. And it's infuriating because you are so vulnerable when you're going through this, and you deserve that transparency. You deserve the correct information. This is real life, big stuff that you're making important decisions on. And it's not fair for people to wrongly influence you into doing something when giving you the wrong information or deliberately withholding the correct information. So you think you're being educated and actually you're being marketed to. So those two questions again, who benefits if I believe this? And would this advice still make sense from this person if money weren't involved? So that's a good one as well if you're reviewing something that is potentially free. Because if you can't see the incentive, it doesn't mean that there isn't one. All right. I've got a couple of other things I'd like to say before I close off on this episode. Going abroad for fertility treatment can be a brilliant option, but only when you've made an informed decision about doing so and when you have been able to make informed decisions every step of the way. So before you trust advice about where to go, who to choose, or how fast to move, you need to ask even just that one question: who benefits if I believe this? Until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. If you are facing more obstacles than options and want to learn more about how to overcome your fertility testing and treatment challenges in your home country so that you too can fast track to growing your family and on your terms, then check out my free training at yourivfabroad.co.uk/free masterclass. Don't forget to rate and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and so that I can reach and help more people. Thanks for listening.